And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another instalment of the ongoing weekly series Valiant to the Last, in which I read every single Valiant comic deluxe edition one at a time. Today we're looking at Archer and Armstrong Deluxe Edition Volume 2. This is the direct sequel to the one we looked at last week, which was Deluxe Edition Volume 1, so let's dive straight into it. This is an early era Valiant Deluxe Edition after the 2012 reboot. I think this is in 2013-14. That's when these particular issues came out. We've got the usual design, we've got the banner, we've got the top tag, we've got the image here, which I think is the cover of issue 17. Let's have a look here. Usual spine and Deluxe Edition number 2. This is the second final Deluxe Edition for this particular series. There is follow-up series, but we'll look at those later. Usual stuff, picture on the back, blurb, and usual, no sticker or anything on this one. I think I got this one brand new when it came out. Let's check the inside flaps, blurb in the front, creators in the back, and again yellow end leaves. So let's have a look under the dust jacket. As we can see, this has the same really nice gold blocking that the edition last week had as well, and a really nice clean spine there with the number there, Deluxe Edition 2. Again, this will look great raw on the shelf. Nothing on the back, and as I said, yellow end leaves. So let's dive straight into it. Archer and Armstrong Book 2. What is contained within this? Well, this is 3 or 4 different trade paperbacks. I'll explain that in just a second. The first one is Sex Civil War, which collects issues 14 to 17. The next one is Mission Improbable, which collects Archer issue 0 and then the Mission Improbable parts, which is both 2 issues of Archer and Armstrong and 2 issues of Bloodshot and the Hardcore. For those of you that recall, back when we did the Bloodshot reading thread, we actually read Mission Improbable then, during the second Bloodshot Deluxe Edition. So we're going to be rereading it here. And then the last bit is American Wasteland and Other Tales, which is issues 20 to 25. Now, I believe, I haven't confirmed this, but I believe that in trade paperback version, these 4 is the story American Wasteland, and then these 2, plus something else I'll talk about before the end, are collected in a 4th trade paperback called The 1% and Other Tales. I haven't confirmed that, but I think that's how it works out if you do it in trade paperback edition. So let's look straight at it. We've got Sex Civil War, which is these 4 issues there. Right, this picks up directly from the end of the last Deluxe Edition, from issue 13, and it's just out and out a good, decent story. It keeps in touch with the same kind of artwork, it maintains the same kind of tone. Long story short, the idea is the Sex Civil War, as you can see from the tagline here. And yeah, it's good. It's got a lot more time travel in it than I'd expected. I didn't realise that with the advent of the Eternal Warrior, Ivar Time Walker, who's the 3rd brother after Armstrong and the Eternal Warrior, with the advent of him now entering the Valiant universe, there's a lot more time travel going on, which is cool and interesting, and it's done well. It's just it was unexpected. It was just unexpected. That said, here we have the various issues of this. It's just a decent story. I've got absolutely no qualms recommending it. I've got no problems having read it. As I say, there's issue 17 with the cover. Yeah, so Sex Civil War just continues the Archer and Armstrong story, and it was fun. That takes us to the end there, and then we start Mission Improbable. Now, like I say, here are the issues in Mission Improbable. You've got the Archer 0 one shot, you've got Archer and Armstrong 18, Bloodshot 20, Archer and Armstrong 19, Bloodshot 21. We've seen those 4 in the Bloodshot Deluxe Edition 2 anyway. What I would point out is that this particular one shot, the Archer 0 one shot, is not in the Bloodshot Deluxe Edition, but is a really good prelude to the Mission Improbable event. And so I really like the way it's collected here. I really like the pacing and the mapping order they've used here to collect it where they have. It's basically great, and it actually ends with Bloodshot and kind of segues very smoothly into Mission Improbable. So that was a lot of fun. Then we have Mission Improbable, which I'm not going to dwell on too much because I've already talked about it. It is good. It's interesting seeing things from this side. I remember the first time that I read this, it was the first time I came across Archer and Armstrong, and I kind of didn't really fully understand what they were doing or what was going on. It gave me kind of an idea as to what their abilities and their relationship was, but not a brilliantly sort of detailed idea of it. Whereas this time round, now obviously I'm familiar with the Bloodshot side, and so reading the Archer and Armstrong side makes a lot of sense. And it was just good. It was good fun, and it was enjoyable. Yeah, so that was fine. Yeah, absolutely enjoyed that. That takes us to, here we are, American Wasteland and Other Tales. So the first 4 issues of this, which is up to issue 23, so that's 20, 21, 22, 23. It seemed a little bit hokey and cheesy to start with because it involves a lot of American pop culture references. But that said, it works well enough that actually it was just very enjoyable. As you can see, really consistent artwork, enjoyable story, smart. It was clever. I'll be honest, the ending of it was kind of clever, but it reminded me a little bit of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, the movie from the 90s. If you haven't seen that, then you won't know what I mean. But if you have seen that, then you will know. And I don't mean that in any way as a criticism, by the way, of the comic. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey is one of my favourite films. It's brilliant. And this had a similar kind of clever thing at the end, just again involving a lot of time travel. But it worked out well. I enjoyed it. I think I saw the end coming just before it came, and then I was like, oh, no, that makes sense. That's clever. We then get into issue 24, which is a standalone one-shot issue. Pretty much, it's good. It doesn't really feature Archer and Armstrong, but it's what in wider context around the world in which they're set and sort of the scenario building around that, which was good. That was issue 24, and then we have issue 25. As is often the case with these Valiant issues, issue 25 is both the end of this particular ongoing series, and it's an anniversary issue, which means that it has lots of smaller, self-contained stories in it. So I think this is something like 38, 40 pages long, and it has just a bunch of self-contained small stories, most of which are kind of quirky and funny, some of which are quite kind of clever, like this one, for example. What the hell is this one? Let me try and... Yeah. And then, yeah, like generally, it was good, it was decent. Sometimes the anniversary issues have what is essentially glorified webcomic art, which I'm not really a fan of. But hey, you take what you get. So that's the end of issue 25. And that's the end of the series. And it ends with a nice bit of closure. It's just a good, solid story. Then we have the gallery, which is the usual bits and pieces. Yeah, I can't believe we see the return of Grammy, like absolutely terrifying character. If you haven't read Harbinger, then you don't know, but trust me, she's horrific. Yeah, usual kind of like extra features, all really nicely well put together. And there we have it. One thing I will point out is that at the end of this series, there is one issue which hasn't been collected in either of these deluxe editions, and in fact, from what I can tell, isn't collected anywhere. Now, you remember I said that these first 4 issues are American Wasteland, and these last 2, I think, are collected separately. So issue 24 and 25 are collected, I think, in another trade paperback called The 1% and Other Tales. And that's because they also include a single issue which isn't collected here. I'll flash an image of that on the screen here. So there you see it. That is the image of the Archer and Armstrong The 1% one-shot, which is about 35, 40 pages, I think. That came out at the same time or just after this particular series, so after the 2012 to 2014 run, but before the next series started. And it's a single one-shot that's not collected in any of the deluxe editions. I can see why, having read it, and I did read it last week. It doesn't feature Archer and Armstrong in the slightest. In fact, it's purely about one of the villains, one of the people called the 1%. And it's about him being generally sort of villainous. What is that? Got a weird dent in the top of my comic. What is that about? Odd. Anyway, so that 1% issue is decent, actually. It's a good read, it's well drawn. It just has nothing to do with the ongoing story, and it doesn't feature Archer and Armstrong. It would have been nice if it had been collected in here, but I don't think we're losing anything by not having it. I read it, and it was enjoyable. as just a standalone of here's a villain being villainous. The main guy in it reminds me a little bit of what's his name? The young king of the Hellfire Circle, of the new Hellfire Circle in X-Men. Is it Killian Kilgore or something like that from the X-Men? Anyway, it reminds me a bit of that guy, except grown up. It's not a bad issue. It's odd that it's not collected anywhere, but if you're going to read it at any point, I reckon read it after reading his Deluxe edition too. Cool. All right, well, with that out of the way, this is, as I said, Armstrong Deluxe Edition 2. What we're going to do for next week is we're going to read another Deluxe Edition. There is one that comes after Armstrong, which is just called A and A, but we're not going to read that next week. For next week, I want to read Ivar Time Walker, because now the character of Ivar has been reintroduced to the Valiant universe here. It feels like Ivar Time Walker is probably a good thing to read after this. It's a 12-issue maxi series. It's collected in a single deluxe edition. Hopefully it's a one and done. I found the character of Ivar quite interesting. Time travel, as always, can be quite interesting or can be done terribly. So let's find out next week.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, please follow me on Twitter at I am Thomas Judge, where I will post a daily review of whatever comics I've been reading. You can get an idea of what I'm up to on the channel. And as always, please support the channel by heading over to Amazon.com and checking out my prose novel about superheroes. It's a completely original piece of work. The first episode in it is called Arrivals, and the series as a whole is called No Gods or Kings. You can find an excerpt of that on my website, nogodsorkings.com. Until next time, everybody, stay classy.